Eswatini.
The sporting fraternity keeps on marching on after the Kingdom of Eswatini government, of course, allowed a few sporting codes that have got less chances of spreading the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic to be specific. Hello and welcome. This is Temidlalo. We're going to be touching on different sporting activities that took place over the weekend. The announcement by the acting Prime Minister last week says there were some of the sporting codes that have got less chances of spreading the virus have been, of course, cleared. We'll look at those sporting codes. But just to recap, a few weeks ago, the Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association did host, the annual general meeting where the biggest issue was the elections. Of course, we saw what happened and everything. But some sporting codes, of course, lost their way, meaning they were suspended or rather terminated. They have now to re-register again to be an affiliate of EOGA. We'll talk to one of the association, that is badminton, where we'll be talking to the Secretary General, Sihle Mokoena. We're going to get the details about the sport. What are the challenges that they faced and some of the things that they'll be working on, trying to revamp and revive the sport itself. Otherwise, Maxwell Jere is the Tennis Association president, but he also holds a huge position, a big position under the Olympic movement as vice president of the association, of the Olympic movement. We'll talk to him, talk about his new post, of course, and talk about also as one of the administrator in the sporting fraternity who's been there for quite some time. We've seen how tennis is improving in the country. He's going to tell us some of the tips that he thinks can improve largely the sport fraternity. Otherwise, moving on, other activities including cricket, techball, athletics, all is going to be discussed here live on Eswatini TV, and it's going to be, of course, in front of the screen. Different chances of how you can watch this show, of course, not to forget the latest way of watching Temidlalo is through the Eswatini TV app. Otherwise, YouTube is always available for you, and for those who have school journey, be glued on your screen, because me and my colleague Linda Lamin, who I'm already in a company with, we're going to give you what you want to know about sporting codes in the country.
Yeah, Fabrice ngiyabonga ngakuthola kulungivusela amalwelo viewers Monday ngiyathi Amaswati Nkumbi ajabulile since lobambe kuba mvunankulu Themba Masuku memetela ukuthi lamanye ama sports sangabuya adlale lokufaka ikhathi ibhola lokufaka ikhathi swimming lokufaka ikhathi angling lokufaka ikhathi tennis lokufaka ikhathi techball manenge Fabrice lokufaka ikhathi bo cycling Maswati ke vele ajabulile since siyathi ukuthi labanye bebangakhona itilolonga labanye bebangakhona nje ukuthi inekutiphilisa ke, because njengoba ngingasho before ukuthi lamanye ama teams noma labanye badlali barela kakhulu la cashweni lama sports, so ngicabanga ukuthi ile relief inengi kakhulu nale injabulo inengi kakhulu la eMaswatini nayo lokufaka ikhathi nami, because I'm a sport person. I enjoy ukusebenza ema sports, I enjoy watching sports, more especially siyathi ukuthi Friday kudlala national teams. Ethemba ukuthi my Premier League teams atilungiselela.
A couple of things, of course, to mention here. As he just mentioned, last week Thursday, the acting Prime Minister, of course, highlighted that a few sporting codes that will be returning. Just to congratulate him and just say that, of course, if you're a loyal viewer, you would know that he was actually one of the few sports reporting the country to break that news. And he went on and goes ngakubamba ukhuluma some of the association, but we get to that when time allows us. Now, I'm going to be talking to Mr. Sihle Mokoena, the Secretary General of the Badminton Association. He's already joined us through Zoom. Good evening, Mr. Sihle. Good evening, Mr. Sihle. Can you hear me, Mr. Sihle? All right, of course, I think he's having a few technical challenges as he's trying to connect his, social way of, connecting with us. Mr. Lamin, as I was waiting for him to connect, yes, the good news that was delivered about the sports resuming. So at some point I caught you, I think, in a conversation with the Premier League chairman where we end up listening on the news that a few things were going to be in line and then change. Was nasibuka nje all the sporting that were taken. I somehow, not to say that maybe I'm checking the decision made by government. There are some sporting codes since last year March. They've never had an activity, I think. If you look at volleyball, if you look at rugby, if you look at basketball, they have not seen light. We're not challenging government's opposition. We're just putting it there to say this is the situation they are faced with. They are sport with the contact.
Yeah. I think ukhuluma ngama sports la lafana nabo volleyball, netball, basketball, rugby, onke lama sports lawo ukhuluma ngeboxing, ukhuluma ngekarate, onke lawo ma sports lawo vele ma contact sports. Siyathi ukuthi ma contact sports lengicaba ukuthi uhulumende nebetempilo babonile ukuthi cishe le risk isetulu kakhulu ukuthi banganzisa umkhuhlane i COVID-19. But ke lo munye utata imbuta ukuthi why football yona ivunyele ibhola ngicabanga ukuthi nawubuka nangale ndlela le rana ngayicishe one of my favorite sports la khona in the kingdom kani nangale ndlela nje la rana ngayo national team itabidlala ngalesihlanu so vele lama teams kudinga ukuthi abe ready adlale achubeke adlale.
Thank you very much, Sir Dlamini. I would have to catch you there because our technicians, of course, in one way of being the best in the kingdom, of course, to congratulate them. We back online and we've been connected and we are in contact already with Mr. Sihle Mkhwena. Good evening, Mr. Sihle. Mr. Sihle, can you hear us? Wow. Having congratulated them, nature has to be involved. Now, the situation at hand, of course, is pushing its lag, but we keep you updated on how things are going as we wait for the connections and to all the things to be in order. Otherwise, would say some of the sporting courts in Nyaro, we have, you look at your swimming, your cycling, your athletics, the ones that were given permission to be back in the games. They have already started explaining their plans in hand. Basically, athletics, Bakulma would see very soon. Now they've got national championships in May. We heard about tennis over stake. We heard about swimming, all these things, shootings. It's exciting to see them back.
It's exciting for President Joba ngisho ukuthi cishe wonke umuntu lothanza ama sports in the kingdom nge-weekend bekudlala cricket, one of my favorite sports estegi bekwenteka kuvulwa leyona le sports center lesistake ngicabanga ukuthi bamvu around that area they are very excited. Nathi we are excited njoba usho ukuthi kuma athletics ema national champs ayeta ngaMay siyafisile ukubona ukuthi kutawuhamba njani nalapho nethi ngijim tethu some of them base South Africa busiso naphumlile batilolonga khona labanye mhlambe basanese ama injuries but ngicabanga ukuthi Fabrice maybe ngisho ukuthi le timing cishe ibe kahle because lama tournaments ayita kude ama Olympics siyathi ngalosi siwalungiselele. Yes, some of lawo ma sporting courts lafana nabo boxing akayithola imvumo kani banaso slot kuma Olympics sports ama Olympics. Some of them ngicabanga ukuthi vele ema boxers alimele kakhulu because bekane hope ukuthi by this time batabe sebavulelwe badlala baqualifyele bakuma Olympics.
And of course one way of course to make sure that we keep you updated, if you're joining us on different platforms watching Temidlalo live this evening, of course we'll be taking a short break. We'll be of course trying to get Mr. Sihle online, and I can assure you that when we get back he's going to be explaining to us what has happened to the sport. What is badminton? Some of the loyal viewers are wondering, is this sport practiced in the country? But you're going to hear soon after the break.
in every difficulty lies an opportunity. Ukuthi sifune sifunze ukuthi ama-opportunities akhona ngaphandle.
Lwati lukhulu lulangqondweni yami ngaphandle kwale ngqondo ngeke kutawonakala.
An idle mind is a devil's workshop. Lokusho ukuthi the more lengqondo uhleli uvuka ulale ubukela TV uphenze ubuye ulale igcina utawugcina soba tempted ukuthi ugcina wenda nemikhiba lengayi enkosini.
You don't need ukuthi now ufuna something at a certain point of time. Uconnecte ndela nakhona ngemali yakho yabo ungarely umuntu ube very independent. Bakruva.
Umuntu omusha kuyakusida ukuthi ungadikhanzi uhlele ekhaya ude lokwendawo.
Phande Estradini every Tuesday on Eswatini TV.
My name is Eswatini.
It's your boy DJ Sana.
Siawagantibande aka Be-Easy. Catch me and the gang on a brand new show.
On a brand new show.
A hot new show for Studio One,
where we cover everything entertainment, everything music.
I'm going to be doing the news aspect specifically.
I'll be dealing with the hottest videos for the week.
I'm going to be on the cozy couch hosting all the guests that we have on the show.
See you every Saturday at 6 p.m.
on Eswatini TV.
Studio One.
Studio One.
Studio One.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who pays for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Angadina ukuthi bengenelwe yini.
Amathatha ngiphile nje imali egibele. Kanti kufanele ngikutshela kangani ntombi wayese ukuthi ngeke lafuna imali kwantu longabantu. Good Samaritan le yamali.
Buku benzile bhekina kabutata emvelo. Kodwa kufa yini?
Usulamile ukuthi uphenduleleni.
Nakuyenteka. Bheka kube khona namile matambule kahle. Ngibona kahle. Ngoba ngathi ukuthi bongena.
Ngikhathazwe ngakho.
Ngitshela umthelene.
Angitshela. Mfana boss, khuluma.
Nomle wendani?
Ushongani awukwenzi ngendani?
Yebo uvunyelwe imbangi ukuthi ungene ekamelweni lami. Ngaphandle kwemvumo yami. Usebenzisa indvodana yami. Uthatha phela sibenzile senjena wena.
Welcome back, of course, lovers of the show Temidlalo. We're faced with some technical glitches, but letting you know that we're back on track and everything is set. And currently, just to speed up this process, I'm already joined by Mr. Sihle Mkwena, the Secretary General of Badminton Sport Association. Some of the things to highlight before maybe I introduce him is that the sport was terminated or rather suspended about a week or two ago during the annual general meeting of the Olympic movement. Now, he's here to explain some of the things, of course, that has pushed the sport to be in the position they are in. What an evening it is.
Good evening, Fabrice, and good evening to the team.
And of course, maybe to let you know, Babe Mkwena, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined by Mr. Lindat Amin, our analyst here in the studio, and also he's greeting you now. Tell us about the sport itself. I think one thing we want to understand is that we have seen the sport internationally, but maybe just for the sake of the viewer, let's start about the sport. And if we do have really places to play the sport in the country, badminton, here it is. Tell us about it.
Okay, badminton is first and foremost is a racket sport that is played internally. It's played in a hall with a specific height and with specific flooring. It's a sport that actually can be played by anyone of any age. So it's a sport for everyone and for all. Yeah.
Now, maybe just to we're still talking about the description of the sport, and then I think one would say I've watched Olympic Games, I've watched everything. There is some similarities when you look at the sport and you look at tennis, and then maybe you look at also volleyball, and I think that's where maybe people trying to mix the things because you use the same racket. Maybe the difference is the type of ball you use and the environment, the field. And do we have those sort of facilities in the country?
Okay, badminton is played using a racket, shuttlecock, as opposed to tennis using a racket and a tennis ball. It's played. There's a net that is used to divide the opponents, and then the similarities that you can actually derive from volleyball are the obvious ones, that the ball doesn't have to touch the floor. When you're playing, you have to make sure that the shuttlecock doesn't make contact with the ground. So that is where the similarities with volleyball come in. But then where else in tennis the ball can touch the ground? It has to touch the ground. And then
if you're able to see something on the screen, but now the question that is next for the viewers there is to ask then, how do you then score the points? How do you know that you've scored? How do you know that you've won the game? How do you know that you are in an advanced stage when you're playing the game?
Okay, all right. Similarly with tennis, all right. Immediately when two, like for instance, when two opponents are playing, you play, when you're serving, you serve on opposite ends, on diagonal ends. Once the ball, the shuttlecock, makes contact with the ground, then it's a point to the one who hit the ball.
Okay.
Just like in football. Right. So when your opponent is deemed to have not returned the shuttlecock, is when the opponent can't actually return the shuttlecock without it having touched the ground first.
All right, and I think the pictures, of course, are in line of what you're saying, and I think I request my technical team to keep on displaying those pictures as you're speaking now. Fast forwarding to juicy stuff, you have an association in the country. You've been, should I use the word suspended or terminated or removed as an affiliate? Tell us about the association. When was it, registered in the country? How were you operating? And some of the reasons that put you in the position you are in right now as a sport.
Okay. The association has been in existence in the country for well over 30 years. But there was a time when we experienced some difficulties like we are presently. And we started to revive the sport again in 2000, in the late 90s, but then things started taking shape from the year 2000 until to date. So it's a sport that has been in existence for well over 30 years now.
Now, you've been suspended, and of course, before maybe I hand to my colleague to ask you one or two questions, you've been suspended, and I think part of the reasons is that you don't have enough, maybe activities, you don't maybe show your activity report in the annual meetings and all those things. What are your plans of maybe trying to get back on track and be an active sport like we have your cycling, like we have tennis? What's the situation at hand?
Okay. It's a pity because, I'm sure we are not the only people that are going to be citing the unfortunate COVID era. But then just before this whole pandemic actually hit the whole world, we had gone back to our roots, which are the schools, the ones that are actually producing players and administrators like myself. We had actually gone back to them, and we had provided them with equipment to revive the sport. So we actually en route to making sure that the sport actually got back to its to the position that we were hoping it would be by the time we are in right now.
Maybe last question before we move on, before I let you go. I was reading the constitution of the Olympic movement. It says that by the time the executive meet, before the next annual general meeting, if you do provide or prove that you have got now the activities, you've got all the requirements to be back on track, they can allow you to once again be a member. Do you think by the time they the next day you will be able to be recalled and now be officially under or a member of OGA as a sport again? Mr. Silta, can you hear me? Wow, they have it, network being network, connection being connection, and the world we're living in is things do change sometimes. We're having a conversation with him, but we can't have him right now. He has just disappeared. But I thank you for just joining us for that little moment. At least we have an idea of what badminton is all about, and I think it's a pity. We wanted to find out where they are heading as a sport, because now part of the things I think they have faced with the challenges is the fact that now they can't be able to carry on with the sport because issues of financials, all those things. But let's hope we keep in touch and find out as we lead to the next annual general meeting. Master, before we welcome Mr. J.
Yeah, ngicabanga ukuthi usheshwa sibalekela sihle kanti besisetini ngana letinvo more especially ukuthi imadaboard yabo ikuphi. Singikhuluma siyathi kusibhola ngeFIFA, cricket ICC, matubana IWAF, ukuthi bona kahle kahle ba affiliate kuphi emhlabeni and bawathola nema grants because kuze granel office kuba nama grants latholwa ku from your motherboard. Ngicabanga ukuthi asithembe ukuthi utawushesha buye nangabe utawukhona kubuya atoyiphendula leyo mbuto leyo.
They have it, and of course we keep in touch. We do promise that both on our programs and on our daily news bulletin we try to keep in touch with Mr. Sihle and find out more about those questions raised by Mr. Tamini. Now, to move on with the interest of time, I'm already joined by Mr. Maxwell Jere, the newly elected Vice President of Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association. He's a familiar sport. I mean, he's a familiar face in the sporting fraternity. If you look at where the Tennis Association currently is heading, right direction in terms of development, talk about facilities. It's a sport that has not complained about facilities. They have created their own situation. They have where to be. They have where to claim a glory. Now, we talk about a man who has showed characteristic of being a leader. It's Mr. Chere. What an evening it is, Mr. Chere. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me, Fabrice. Good evening to all your viewers.
All right. Just to maybe to update you, I'm in the company of Linda Dlamini, where earlier on we were actually talking about some of the things that are happening within the association that you had as president. But for that, we'll start maybe by the new position where you are the vice president of Olympic movement. And for starters, maybe congratulations.
Thank you, Fabrice, and my gratitude and appreciation and thanks to the various representatives of different sporting codes that have entrusted us with this mandate and responsibility to lead IWOGA.
I was thinking after the elections, when you are elected as VP, and then I think you were quoted in one article in the paper, I think over the weekend, I think it's Thursday, when I think you were describing some of the things that are needed in the leadership of sport in general, some of the things that we need as a country to move forward the sport. And I think you were an eye-opener to many when you mentioned some of the things that are needed. And I think your position is relevant to where you want to see the sport heading. Now, your appointment as the Olympic movement vice president, what is it? I mean, I know by now the executive hasn't met to decide and way forward, but the appointment itself, and I think when you told yourself that you want to run for the post, you had ambitions, you had visions. Could you care maybe to share some of the things that you wish to see the Olympic movement achieve in the country?
Well, there are several things I can say, Fabrice, but I think that for me, perhaps the most important is the issue of ensuring that as a country, we compete effectively internationally, and that we produce, world-class athletes. As you are aware, that, the Olympic movement as well is really focusing on high performance. We've got the National Sports Council that is probably looking at issues domestically and development, but ours is now to take the baton further and look at the international stage and how we groom athletes to ensure that, they compete internationally at the All Africa Games, the Commonwealth Games, and then eventually the Commonwealth.
And of course, that speaks to the issue of podium performance, something that you are raising. Now, maybe to regain a bit on your normal position, where you are mostly well known as President, Tennis Association. You are one of the sporting codes, of course, that was given a green light to proceed last week, Thursday, by the announcement made by the acting Prime Minister, Mr. Masugu, during a press conference as a sport with less chances of spreading the virus. How proud are you, and how full of praise are you to the Kingdom of Eswatini's government, and then maybe some of the programs we should start seeing as you back to activities?
Well, I'd like to first of all just start by, mentioning, Fabrice, that we are an association that is truly behind the decisions that are taken by government. We understand the current situation and the gravity of the situation at hand. Nonetheless, obviously, we've got our own targets, we've got our own programs to implement. So we're really, really grateful to government for having, lifted the ban and allowed certain non-contact associations to proceed with their activities. One issue that is very, very important, despite the situation that we're under with the pandemic, I must mention that sport on its own plays a very, very important role in society and can play a role on its own in just diffusing the situation as it is right now. We've all seen on the roadside, we've seen how many people have actually taken up athletics or running or jogging on the road. So this on its own, it shows that people are quite eager, just to ensure that they maintain fitness and the importance, of fitness in the human body and life in general. So we are really grateful. As an association, obviously, we were also quite fortunate last year because following the first lockdown, we were also in the group of the first associations that were allowed to go back and participate in various activities and the different tournaments. So even now, we have actually suspended our program, but as soon as the ban was lifted, we started triggering some activities. Just to give you an example, on just yesterday, on Sunday, there's a program that we launched down at the Sitegi in partnership with the Sitegi Town Council. As you are probably aware, we do have a National Tennis Center in Lobamba, but we've got various satellite centers where we've got a group of, tennis players, particularly juniors, that are playing tennis in different areas. We've got places such as Eswatini, we've got places in Baban, Mhlume, and others. So what we were launching yesterday, we were launching another satellite center at Sitegi. As you are probably aware as well, that Sitegi is one of the towns, in the country, particularly in the Lubombo region. It's the biggest town in the Lubombo region. So it was very critical. It's always been an issue, on our plate as a tennis association to get tennis and bring tennis to play.
And I think maybe I'm going to try to divert you, and I think not to say you speak as the best expert, but I think the work at hand that is being done by association, it is greatly appreciated. If you look at, I think the situation you're referring to of Sitegi, and I recall I saw also the Sitegi, authorities also speaking to how they're going to cooperate with the association to try to improve. And then I think the target is on the development, the youngsters. You want to try as an association that not only Babane Mansini corridor is the focus, but you go to Sitegi, you go to your Mhlume, which is something that you raised in your recent annual general meeting, to try and see other parts of the country, also get that interest. Now, it's been hard to many associations. And now, this is when now you become also another person, because your position now, not only as the president of the tennis association, but VP for the Olympic movement, it's been hard for many associations to do what you've been able to do as tennis association. What is the strategy to maybe not to talk about the tennis center and everything? The other sporting codes who have facilities like you do, you talk about your volleyball, your basketball, your so on and so on. What is the secret in succeeding, trying to do this as quick as possible? Because you've mentioned something as an association, we've seen that being implemented. What's been the secret? What can other sporting codes learn from you as a sport?
I would say for this, it's a combination really of principles, but the most important one really is passion. If you're passionate about the development of sport, and you are willing to do anything to ensure that the sport succeeds, certainly you will find a way. There are a lot of people out there that are willing to assist, as long as the determination and the passion is evident. It's very important. Unfortunately, most of our sporting codes, at times, you find that it's just a handful of people, or sometimes it is in a one-man show that is driving the whole ship. But it really needs to be a collaborated effort, ensure that the various committees within the various sporting codes are working together. This is an aspect which is also quite critical for the work that Iwoga is doing on its own. As I mentioned earlier on, that we're focusing on high performance and ensuring that we unearth talent and producing world-class players. It is not true that talent is only based in Manzini and Baban. You can unearth the best talent from the most rural of places in the country, and the only way that is possible is if we decentralize our sports and we ensure that we access, all these players in remote places. And I think that this is a challenge really that all associations should aspire to be able to overcome. We do need to decentralize and make sure that, we also provide these opportunities. We know very well that historically and generally, football is the most popular sport in the country. and is easily accessible. So this is what we also need to try and work towards as different sporting codes, because not everybody can be a soccer player. So you may find that badminton that you have just also hosted before me can also make its way into various parts of the country. And the best badminton player may actually come from a place such as Tafnisa, just giving an example. So I'm basically saying that, we need to work hard in ensuring that we decentralize our sport. It's part of the professionalization process to ensure that, we unearth talent from as many places as possible.
Now, lastly, maybe before I let you go, Mr. Jele, I think issues of best athletes, when you look at maybe your association as a sport, there is this young man by the name of Lofla, and then you look at the likes of Tando, and then I think this recently, Hayden, I think if you look at the rankings, somehow he is down there under the, youth and rankings, but he's coming up and he's representing as well as a country. Some people actually saying, wow, there is Eswatini somewhere in the rankings just because of this young man by the name of Hayden Lofla. And you look at the performance by Town, and these guys, they are the future for the local sport, especially for tennis. What's the plan for the association? Are you meeting them somewhere to try to take them where they deserve to be in terms of making them shine?
You will recall, Fabrice, I think you've been following our sport for several years now. About 4 years ago, when we took office, we deliberately put up a comprehensive strategic plan where we clearly mapped up and articulated, the roadmap and what needs to be achieved at certain intervals, within the strategy itself. And it is not a mistake that, the likes of Hayden, the likes of Tando, have really progressed to this far. These young athletes, these young tennis players and youngsters have come up through the ranks from our development programs. We're really looking forward. We obviously have been disturbed by COVID, but it hasn't disturbed us alone, it's disturbed the whole world. So we're hoping that we haven't really lost out too much. They are now entering into an era where they are now going into the international domain. And we are quite confident that, this spells well for, the future of the sport itself. There are other aspects that we now need to probably start focusing on. We are quite keen, very, very soon, perhaps starting this year, to start hosting international events of the likes of the Swazi Open, a tournament that we used to hold way back then. So we are really also focusing on the issue of regional integration. When I talk about regional integration, is now benchmarking ourselves with other countries within the region and also taking a leading role in different aspects of the sport itself. There is the leadership aspect where I also sit as the Secretary General of tennis within the region. So we need to take a leading role in these positions, which will influence positively, other things that will be happening within the development of the sport in the country.
There you have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Jele. I don't know if you should say thank you very much, Vice President or President, but it both applies. Thank you very much for your time, and I think we'll keep relying on you when it comes to these developments, either come to Tennis Association or the Olympic movement. And I think we'll keep in touch and find out how things are going for the association, the sport in large. Thank you very much. They have it. Lamin, we'll move, Mr. Chair. And I think Uvetile would say, as far as we've known, and I think I recall myself, as far as we've been in the sport industry, and as Kurumanga consistency goes, he's one man consistency in terms of saying something and it happens for the sport. Boko na wule AGM Nabatsi, I think it was 2017 or 4 years before they came to the office. The account almost, one would say almost nothing, but today they can sit and say there's something being saved on the account. The tennis center is there. Now they have moved into the parts of the country. head and low fla nakhuluma ngama rankings kuma juniors uyamthola Tando there's another person I was talking from where he normally goes, the likes of Zimbabwe, Lesotho. They have started noting these young men. This is what we want for the sport. It should also happen to other sporting courts, not only tennis courts.
Yeah, Fabrice ngeke ngasho esikhathini lesedlulile ukuthi kutawubukakala ngathi i-tennis mhlambe sinika special treatment kani but inika bona le special treatment bayenda lokufanele sakhuluma nge-leadership yakhe Maxwell ukuthi since bangenile office cishe leti invest ibona sikhuluma nge-facilities sikhuluma ngama-tournaments and the meaning bene nenhlanhla with one of our colleagues sahamba sa na Maxwell uyamove nakakhuluma when umuva khuluma ke Fabrice I always listen attentively because ngifuna ku analyze konke la kushoko ukhuluma inzabe facility ukuthi baya kanjani le facility leya very good strategy wakhuluma ngenzaba lekhe kakhulu Fabrice ukuthi ngawungena kuma sports usukungenele ini ungenele ukuthi ufuna ukupromote le sport noma ungenele nje ukuthi ngifuna ukuthola lokho lengikutholako
asinatsemande kancane Nkosi ngoba sitawushisa lenzaba. Now a short break, of course, as Mr. Dlamini highlighted. When we come back, of course, a lot is aligned. We'll look at of course some of the things including tech ball. We'll look at cricket, but before I take a break, I will leave you with this a few trips coming from tech ball.
Badminton is a game played as singles, where one person plays against another person, or doubles, where two people play against two people. The object of the game is for you or your team to win 2 sets faster than the opposing team. To win a set, you must score 21 points and be at least 2 points ahead. If the scores are 20-20, for example, the game carries on until one player or pair has a 2-point lead. Okay then, so how do you score these points? To score a point, you must aim to hit the shuttlecock, which is usually a piece of cork with feathers sticking out of it, with your racket over the net and onto your opponent's floor without the opponent returning the favour. The court is 13.4 metres long and 6.1 metres wide, and the net is 1.55 metres above the ground. Pay attention to these lines, as the boundaries are different for singles and doubles. To start the game, a player must serve the shuttlecock below the waist. The shuttlecock must travel over the net and land in the areas defined for the serve to be legal. If the shuttlecock is hit onto the lines, this also counts as a point. The opponent will then try and return the shuttlecock and make you miss returning it back. This can go back and forth and is known as a rally. Remember, the aim of the game is to hit the shuttlecock onto your opponent's floor, and these are the areas you're aiming for. There are several shots that you can utilise to try and win points. These include forehands, backhands, slice, touch, and of course, smash. Hitting the shuttlecock over the net onto the floor so that your opponents can't return it sounds simple enough, but in badminton, it's very easy to lose points. There's a lot of things you can't do in badminton. You cannot hit the shuttlecock outside the area of play. You cannot hit the shuttlecock twice in succession. You cannot touch the net. You cannot hit the shuttlecock into the net and for it to land on your side of the court. You cannot touch the shuttlecock with any part of your body except the racket. And as earlier mentioned, you must serve the shuttlecock legally. If you commit any of these errors, this results in your opponents being awarded a point. Once a player or pair has won a point, they are also awarded the next serve. Once a player or pair has won 21 points and is at least 2 points ahead, they win a set. First pair to win 2 sets faster than the opponent wins. Now that's basically badminton in a nutshell.
And of course, still with you live on Eswatini TV, Temidlalo. And of course, before we talk to Mr. Chere, we're in a conversation with the Sifem Kwena, the Badminton Secretary General, where we lost him through a short connection. But he's back. And I think he tried to assure that, no, the conversation has to go on because he was expressing a point that meant a lot. Now, Mr. Sifle, welcome back, of course, joining us. I think the last question, 1 or 2 questions we wanted to find out is that, what are the plans for the association to regain its status, to be back on the map as an association, and where do you report to? In terms of the motherboard, when you talk about your motherboard outside the country, where are you staged, and then do they support you in terms of finances and grants?
Thank you very much, Fabrice. And again, once again, my apologies with the network glitches. We are actually hoping that we are going to be back with our national council and our mother body with Badminton Africa and Badminton World Federation. We were actually in good stands with all of them. They are supporting us, and we promise them that we are not going to, in as much as we understand the council stance with everything, we want to make sure that we push and we actually do our best as the people who actually entrusted with actually building this, making sure this actually works. So we are going to be continuing with our endeavors, which includes bringing back all these schools. Hopefully now that everything has been lifted with regards to the COVID, we are going to be back and we are going to be fighting. And hopefully our council is going to rethink everything in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sihle. We were trying to finish it, of course, the conversation. In the interest of time, we will keep in touch with you and find out how you're doing. And then keep it up the initiative of trying to revive the sport. You know, not everyone, of course, is interested in other sporting causes. There is someone, somewhere, somehow, who loves badminton. Keep it up with the good work. Otherwise, I mean, your move, Sihle Kurumana Wutsivele, they have not lost the energy. They are looking to revive the sport.
Yeah, kumcoka ukuthi bazame ukuthi redeem Fabrice babuye baqoqela office labo babuyele baphindze bafake kahle isicelo sabo ku Olympics movement. Ngicabanga ukuthi angeke akusitho timvo mhlambe letinkulu kakhulu tishwana nje letincane, otherwise batawubuya.
Wow. They are not the only sporting codes, of course, that was suspended. It includes other sporting codes like weight lifting, and you can also count other sporting codes that we've seen in the past. In the past, we've seen the likes of table tennis. Table tennis now they have written to the Sporting Council to trying to get back into the game. So it is possible. Once you're suspended, once you are no more an affiliate, you can also once again re-register and show that you have a report that you'll be going to follow. The activities are going to be there. So anything is possible. Otherwise, moving forward, Master Techball. But before we talk about Techball and the activities, I want us to take a look at this. And then when we come back from these interviews of Techball, then we'll discuss more about that.
Okay, kuqala nje angibonge lesikwendile lana besicommemorate i-World Forest Day, so 21st March, so we had to plant isihlahla, and then ngetulu kwaloko si team lensha called our Firstborn Tech, so besihalalisana loko nje ukuthi namuhla we're fully registered as a team, so that is why besihlanyela isihlahla. Ngicabanga amaswati lamaningi abonile bo climate change in recent times, kunama cyclone kunani, and ngicabanga baye basho belungu ukuthi kufuna ukuthi sihlanyele isihlahla ukuthi sikhona ukuthi sicombat ama effects e climate change. So sibuka indzawo lengathi open, which is lendzawo lesijimela kiyo, ukuthi ngisho sijima ukhanza sekude umthundi, so mhlawumbe lesihlahla sesihlanyela namuhla in 5 years or 7 years time sidabe siphumula kiso.
Namuhla yi International Day of Forests, and sibone ukuthi si Techball Eswatini Federation ukuthi asite lana ekhaya le Firstborn Techball Club sitohlangela tihlahla kuto celebrate lelanga nabo badlali balelo licembu. Mawungabuka nje lamva kwami uyabona ukuthi kude tihlahla leti la celeni kwale arena labadlalela kiyo. Lokho kusho-ke ukuthi labadlali ama-coach bo-referee naletihlwele tale team leti tawuba khona kude ukuthi ti-protectekile from ilanga, ukuthi tihlale phasi kwemfundi matibukela, noma nje lo mfundi lo tawusita ukuthi badlali bangaze balimale as badlala. Sibuke vele a long-term project ukuthi sitawuqhubeka sihlanyele tihlahla, sipartnerishe nama-entities lahlukile ukuthi sifake tihlahla la etindzaweni la kude khona tihlahla njengalana ekhaya.
And of course, the Eswatini Techball Federation doing a good initiative. Of course, these are some of the well-known faces in the country. Talk about the entertainment industry, the likes of Mdura and all those other people who joined hands to trying to show the initiative through Sportmaster. It's something singasho ukuthi you understand more and unalethuba nje kwathi ukuthi kwendekani within the association. Bekwendekani bamba what's the initiative? Why born?
Fabrice itolo iTechball ivakashele i-team lensha ile team lensha ke umdlalo wakhona lomunye wabo ngumdura i-comedian ala ikhali yatiwa kakhulu bane team lensha ezulwini around ezulwini. So bathi ngalo sibe kulanga itolo International Forest Day ba decide ukuthi okay lenzawo lezidlalela kuyo la abadlalela kuyo bona as i firstborn.
So ngiyambona na umdura kusho si banethafula nabo master.
Yes,
nabanika.
Yes,
Fabrice. Nabanika phela ngithi part of the executive.
Yes, banika etolitafula before nje lockdown vele basebazicalile benta kusakujima. Unfortunately ke kwasekuqala yotinza batabo corona bangasakhona lokujima. But ke nyalo kwamenyetelo test day kuthi ayavula ama sports nge weekend ngemgcibelo already bese bavele ba active baboneke ukuthi lenza labadlalela kuyo ngathi ngisuka eMalkens Fabrice ku cricket ngizithe ngisuka eMalkens cricket after ngive ngale firstborn Techers ngase ngithi asengiyibuka le arena because bayibita ngathi bathi arena bona a very good arena yabo so to say manje babese bakha leti bahlenyela letihlahla sorry bafaka letihlahla bendela ukuthi at least nathi khula letihlahla siyathi ukuthi ihlahla tisinika ini
i-team le master
i-team le Fabrice i-firstborn Techers
we registered under Techball Federation,
fully registered under Techball Association ala Eswatini na Fitech nebadlali bakhona sebarejistile including bona bomdura barejistile ka Fitech eHungary fully registered.
Mdura nje uyatiwa eFitech eHungary.
Uyatiwa Mdura nangathiwa nje kune tournament letawuqala because ikhona le letawuqala Mdura utawusho Fitech ukuthi ngiyadlala ndabe ngithatha ndabe ngidlala kule tournament letabe ikhona Fitech approve.
Ndawucala masa ngibutha umbuto ngoba phela bokhumbula ukuthi imali ya viewers nayo abana interested. We're moving forward. The producer wants us to move to the next topic. Ngivubuta i-badminton ukuthi ufise kuva ukuthi engabe umbani motherboard wabo ukuthi khona la okuncane labafakela khona in terms of grants. So if you take motherboard wena ka Techball
I'm happy.
The motherboard.
Yes, I'm happy Fabrice. I'm happy we are to see Techball under Fitech.
Yes.
I'm sure we see even the second question le grants we are because we are a journalist, we are a sports journalist. Okay, angusho Fabrice lo ukuthi since Techball is sportless inshallah kangwane and in other parts of the world cishe sisisha vele. So if you take lokuncane la kufaka usafuna kubona lokuthi nentani ngako ni active ngako yes so mhlambe bangabe carried away kuncane akusiko nokuthi ngakubita ngegrant ngokuthi nje hambani into lama activities.
But ke ngosi ngiva ngathi wena ujake ku defending zabo ngiva ngathi ngifuna ukubuta ukuthi kukhona into okufikako sicela si appreciate ukuthi kukhona.
Yes,
kuyafika.
Yes.
Okay, cabe silapho ngosi. Now, Techball Association, of course, one of the sporting association that is new in the country. He has acknowledged that in terms of grants, khona la bakutfolako. Asifuna kwathi ukuthi kwanyana ngumalini, but kukhona lokungena ukuthi i-sport ibe developed. How many times? 6 months? Yes,
okay,
Fabrice, 6 months.
Unfortunately, we had an interview with the secretary the other day. The office work. Mina ngibuta ukuthi coach, ngibuta ukuthi tinvelete kanjalo imithetho yaka Techball indakuphendvula, but the office work angati mina kuvele kuthiwe technical director senda nako ngende kona.
Okay, now let's move on. Over the weekend, of course, Cricket Association was at work. Master, you visited one of the ground where the activities were taking place over the weekend. Tell us about that, and seeing cricket as one of the sports that was highlighted to return to its action.
Yeah, Fabrice, itolo eMarkens Cricket Association ngai president Mr. Ru lamanenge batenguthi nguru bamati ngala ebholeni but song president ngala eka cricket ungekubona ke ukuthi ema teams akhe under i-association ayastruglisha lamanye ahamba adlala matches la hlukahlukene lo mnyafika afake blue afake green afake red afake white wathi no unqono hambe afune sponsor lesta sponsorisha ema teams ngelijezi luckily wayithola inakhuza Easier Motors yamanzini le sponsorishe ema teams i-Success nje club one of the teams lezozile kule sponsorship le because bebete vele lijezi nembabane cricket club yadelisa malinga nayo izuzile kuthola lijezi so ngicaba ukuthi bataba uniform dinvo lethu lesifuna ukubona Fabrice singathi masiyoshutha
development of the sport
isiqala la kuthiwa kudlala lama games Fabrice babone ba uniform bagcoke dinvo lethu efanako utawubonakala ukuthi no sishutha indvo lekahle lefuna kuba professional lesese professional ngiyo le delisa malinga i-team yakhe lambabani.
Of course, they're showing up what the club will be wearing. Now, before we knock off and leave this office, of course, and leave you with other programs, those who attended the handover, of course, on the day did mention few words pertaining to the handover and the sport at large returning to its activities. Listen to this.
Kunjalo vele sizama ukuthi at least lo mdlalo ubukeke usezingeni because nangabe nje ngidawuqhamuka ngigcoke kwami nalona aqhamuke nakwe Highland akubukeki kahle so sizame ukuthi yonke i-team ibe ne-uniform so ke betile bakhala kithi si-association sahamba ke nathi sangqongqotha eninini lesisebenzisana nato ukuthi phela manje basitele nange ma-team vele basukumele etulu basita sibonga kakhulu nje ukuthi Easier Motors basivile and siyethemba nathi sitaba support ngoba phela ba-run i-business uqhube ibhizinisi nawo supporta eMaswati ubheke ukuthi eMaswati nawo akusupport lokunye-ke maybe sitawucela nakulabanye ukuthi banangizana bachubeke baside sisetha ungqongqotha because nawubuka nje siyadlala la without sponsor so ngicabanga ukuthi kudingeka kube nebantu laba timbandzakanyako nalomdlalo kungabi ukuthi umdlalo lo ungasiwa la uthathe ngathi awusiwa la kanti phela umdlalo weMaswati.
They have it, of course, some of the officers of expressing how the day was on the day and the handover and everything in the sport at large, what puts it in a position to progress. Otherwise, moving forward in another world of sport, when you talk about another world of sport, is football, and we are closing and leaving you. Sihlangu Semnigat, of course, will be taking on against Guinea-Bissau Friday, Master, in the AFCON qualifiers. Of course, Sihlangu don't have a chance to qualify anymore, but for the sake of, preparations, of course, suffer good FIFA ranking. Kumcoka 3 points.
Kumcoka Fabrice kubooster spirit kubooster nama rankings ngicabanga ukuthi sidayikhuluma kahle test sesi analyze cishe konke sisi unpack konke ma group stages ma results nokuthi singakhathani vele ku national team nokuthi bebakuphi kulo 2 weeks I secret camp yabo.
They have it. Sikubongela Master kuba nathi namuhla.
Kubonga mina Fabrice.
They have it. Sihlangu Semnigat will be facing Guinea-Bissau come Thursday live on Eswatini. A lot of details will be revealed. Before that, of course, we hope that by Wednesday we'll have talked to Sihlangu Semnigat, the coach and the captain, and the arrival of the opponents, which is Guinea-Bissau, expected in the country this Wednesday. Otherwise, Eswatini TV Sports and the entire crew, sidlala kamnandi.